The NBA Finals just ended, and like any normal person, I'm going to make a power rankings that are way too early, before the draft, before free agency. A few trades were made during the finals, including Kevin Durant to the Rockets, so we'll talk about that. But time to make a power rankings way too early into the season before any moves happen, so obviously this is going to change a lot, but I thought it'd be fun to look at every team's outlook for next season right after the NBA Finals. Before we get started, I just wanted to take this little bit of time to ask if you guys could please subscribe. It really helps the channel out a lot. I really appreciate the support on the last few videos. Growth is going really well, trying to get to 1,000 so we can start putting more resources into these videos. Obviously a long ways away, but every single subscriber helps, so if you could do that, I would greatly be appreciated. Thank you. Now let's get started with the power rankings. At number 30, which shouldn't be a surprise to most, Charlotte Hornets. They have some decent young pieces. They have LaMelo Ball, they have Miles Bridges, they have Brandon Miller, but nothing really on this team is going to be too interesting. I think they're going to look to trade either Nurkic or Mark Williams. Likely Mark Williams, he has a bit more value. Might be trading LaMelo. They might be trading everything. They really have not much to go off of, and unfortunately for fans of Charlotte, there's just nothing to get excited for. Like LaMelo Ball's all-star campaign last year was exciting, but outside of that, really not much going on in Charlotte, unfortunately. Hope to get the first overall pick and really start building over again. At number 29, we have another team who's kind of just dead in the water, and that's the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz have like Walker Kessler, Lauri Markkanen, but I really don't believe either of them are really big winning NBA players. They're not going to win any meaningful games. I don't think this team's going to be very good at all. I think they're going to look to trade off a lot of pieces, and even though they're already bad, they're going to sell. Very similar situation to Charlotte. I was very much in a toss-up between the two, but I believe the Utah Jazz are slightly better. They just have a higher floor. I think that team is still very bad, but hopefully for them, they could, get some young pieces to build around, make some good trades. I think they still have a very good GM, and they have a lot of picks built up, so, they could really maybe try to get to sort of something special in the future, but as of right now, it's not looking like that's the case. At number 28, I have another team who is very similar but has a bit of a brighter future, a bit of a younger team, and that is the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets tried to capture the flag last season, but did not work out for them with Dallas winning the lottery from the play-in, which is just kind of still absurd to me. But Brooklyn really doesn't have much. They have Cam Johnson, they have Cam Thomas. They really don't have much outside of that. They're going to get a top lottery. They're going to have another top lottery pick next year. They have all the Knicks picks. They have a lot of picks to build off of, which is exciting. They got back all their own picks from Houston. That was the best trade that the GMs ever made, by the way, to get all their picks back. So I think Brooklyn has a lot to build off of for the future, but as of right now, I cannot put them any higher than this. They're an exciting young team in some ways, but not enough to put them any higher than this list. Next up, we have the Washington Wizards, who actually had an amazing draft last year. They got Sarr, they got Bub Carrington out of Pitt legend. I think they really have something they can build off of here, and I think they might have a sneaky fun season next year. Don't think they'll be very great, but they'll be a fun young team, and I think it's going to get a lot of people excited. I think Washington has kind of really propelled their future with the new young core they have, which is something that's going to be great. They're going to draft again high this year, and I really think they have something to build off of. I think it's just going to take a few years to get there, but the foundation is in place for the Washington Wizards. Next up, we have the Portland Trail Blazers, who are an interesting team, to say the least. They just traded for Drew Holiday, which was an interesting choice by them. I think Boston really got lucky there because they needed to get under the second apron. Boston's not going to compete this year. You'll see later where Boston lands on this list, so stay tuned for that. I think that trade really helps their floor. Like, Drew Holiday is a very good winning basketball player. It's definitely going to help them be a better team. I just don't see why, unless they flip him, which they haven't said they're going to flip him, but it could be smoke screens to try to get more out of him. But in all honesty, Drew Holiday does help them become a better team. I think he propelled them a few spots on this list, but they're still not very good with him, so I don't know why you go for a win now kind of older piece like Drew Holiday. I don't really understand that trade, but puts him a few spots higher. Scoot Henderson, you might be able to learn a bit from him, and I think he might be able to be helped a little bit by his mentorship and leadership, but I just don't think it's something that's really going to propel them much higher on this list, just a few spots. That's why I have him here. The next team I have has probably the worst floor spacing in the NBA, but still has a lot of talent, and that's the Toronto Raptors. The Brandon Ingram trade was just weird. I feel like you're just getting another RJ Barrett type player, unless they're looking to trade him, which they might. Emmanuel Quickley as well, the two guys they got in the OG Anunoby trade. I think they have some nice young pieces. I think they're very talented. Like, Toronto has a lot of talented pieces. I just think the interesting thing with Toronto is that there's just no fit right now. They've kind of just tried to gather talent, but now that they, might be trying to go more towards a play-in team, low playoff spot, especially with the East. That's a bit wide open right now. Teams like Boston and Indiana have major injuries to their stars, Milwaukee as well. I think it's a very wide open Eastern Conference, and I think they might try to, get a playoff spot this year, play in, try to kind of move up in the world, but I think their roster fit and construction right now is just kind of garbage. Not going to lie to you. I don't think Brandon Ingram and RJ Barrett should be sharing a floor together. They play way too similar, and they both don't space the floor well enough. So I think they're kind of a bit in a logjam right now, but the offseason has just started, so maybe they'll make some trades and try to fix that roster construction. And at 24, we have the New Orleans Pelicans, who are just so based on Zion's health, which has been not great for years. I think, honestly, they should look to trade him at this point and just start anew. Zion's a top 15 player when he's healthy, but the biggest thing is when he's healthy, which is not very often. I don't think the Pelicans have a very good training staff. It's on Zion too, but I don't think they have a very good medical staff. Zion has been consistently hurt his whole career, and it's really just been a detriment for this franchise, who really, when they got Zion, it was a huge deal for them. But I think they're still a pretty solid team. They have some good players. I think they're going to sell and get worse as the offseason progresses. But as of right now, post-NBA Finals, I think they're still, at this spot here, which isn't very good, but a bit better than they will be at the beginning of the season, in my opinion. Next up, we have the Miami Heat, who aren't very good. They lost Jimmy Butler. They have Bam Adebayo, who's an amazing player. They have Tyler Hero, who's solid. Kevin Love, who's also solid. They're a solid team, but the ceiling just isn't there without Jimmy anymore, and I think they should sell and get even worse this offseason, potentially for a top pick. But as the roster constructed right now, I could see them being a play-in team in a kind of weak Eastern Conference, but that's about their ceiling. And honestly, I hate teams constructed like that, where your ceiling's a play-in and you're old and you're not selling, because it's just like, what is the goal here? You're not going to get better. You're not going to get younger. You are just playing to get play-in, sell a few more tickets maybe, but really not anything to build off of here in Miami, and they're not going to have any chance against any top team in the Eastern Conference. Next up, we have kind of a similar team, except they have Risa Shea, and that is the Atlanta Hawks. I think they should sell off Trae Young. I think he's going to get a lot of value back for them, but this team is just not well built. Again, very similar to the Heat, where it's going to be a play-in exit at most. Not going to be great. They've been doing this for years. They've been just doing the same thing, which is just redo play-in, go to the play-in, lose, go to the play-in, lose, maybe make the first round, get swept. The Hawks aren't very good. They're not well built. They need to start rebuilding, but they still have some solid talent. They still have Trae Young. They'll be a play-in team, which is why I put them over here, but the talent's just not there. Next up, we have the Phoenix Suns, who just traded Kevin Durant, got Jalen Green, and they, similar to the Toronto Raptors, but in a different way, have some of the worst roster construction in the NBA. They have like 5 shooting guards, and they don't have anyone who could play any other position. It's actually insane. Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Jalen Green, everybody, Dylan Brooks, everybody is a shooting guard. I hate this roster construction. They still have talent. I think Devin Booker is going to make your floor very high. I think he should get out of Phoenix, in my humble opinion, but he won't. He loves Phoenix, and I just think that team has very horrible roster construction, but the talent's still there, so I'm going to put them in this range right here. Kevin Durant trade, I think, was good for them. I think they weren't winning with this core, so get as much as you can now. Try to rebuild for the future. The 10th overall pick will help them a lot, but as of right now, I'm going to put the Phoenix Suns here. And at 20, and this is where I'm going to start putting teams that are actually somewhat decent, and that's going to be the Philadelphia 76ers. The problem with the Sixers is they could be much higher, they could be much lower. They are such a what-if team. Will Paul George have as horrible of a year as he did last year? That's a big question. Maxey took a step back last year. I could expect him to come back and bounce back stronger. He was kind of in a bad situation from this year, but I believe he could bounce back. Joel Embiid, will he play basketball again? What will happen with him? His injuries are just honestly really unfortunate, even as someone who's a Knicks fan, so, Joel Embiid is not going to be my favorite player in the world, especially from that playoff series, but the injuries, of course, are always really unfortunate. They're just a huge what-if team. I think getting the 3rd overall pick is going to be huge for them. I think that's very helpful. I just don't think they're very good of a team, even with all the health. They're a very what-if team, so I'm going to put them at 20 here. Could be higher, could be lower, but we'll see. And at 19, I have a team which I thought was very fun last year, and that's the Chicago Bulls. Kobe White, Josh Giddey, go to duo, not gonna lie to you. They play very fun basketball. They have Buzelis. The Bulls, I think, are actually building something sneakily in the East. I think they're a solid team, and I think they could shock some people this year. I think they have pretty decent roster construction. They have still some ways to go, and I think, if they build well, make good moves, make smart moves, I think they could really, keep going in this Eastern Conference. But I think the Bulls are in a decently solid spot, and I think maybe they get Lonzo back. I don't know what's going to happen with him, but I don't think this team's bad at all, and I think it's a team that's sneakily good. Not great, that's why I put them at 19 here, but a team that honestly I really enjoyed watching last season. Next up, we have a team who should start rebuilding, and I think they're kind of done, and that's Sacramento. They had a very fun team. The Light the Beam season was awesome, but I think they're going to sell Levine. I think they're going to sell DeMar DeRozan. They sold Fox. I just don't really see the team getting much else, getting much better, getting much worse. They're a very play-in team. They'll just be in the play-in every year, maybe miss it because the West is so stacked, but they're going to be around that range. And I think they should really be selling, but right after the NBA Finals, when they haven't done that yet, this is where I put them because they still have talent. They're still a solid enough team, but they're just really not going to turn any heads in a Western Conference that's so stacked. Next up, I have a team I think is going to skyrocket up rankings this year, and that's the San Antonio Spurs. Victor Wembanyama, second overall pick, Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox. The fit, little interesting there, but I think they could make it work or make trades if it doesn't work. But I think with Wemby, he's only going to get better. He went to the Shaolin Temple this offseason, so I'm absolutely terrified of what he's going to do this upcoming season. Amazing player, DPOY every year that he's healthy. I think this team is going to be very solid. I think they could be higher than this, but I'm going to put them here. I think this is their floor. I don't think they're going to be very bad next year. Hopefully Wemby stays healthy. Hopefully the blood clots were a one-time thing. If they're more than that, they could definitely go lower, obviously. I hope they retain Chris Paul. I mean, I would want him on the Knicks, but I think Chris Paul was very solid for them. I think Chris Paul is such a floor raiser. Chris Paul, doesn't matter how old he is. He is just one of the most underappreciated players in NBA history. Chris Paul is such a good player, but I hope they keep him. That's kind of besides the point. He's not on the roster right now, technically, because he's a free agent, so can't factor him in. But I think the Spurs will be a very solid team, and I think they're going to be very scary for years to come. Next up at number 16, I have a team the first team who I'm going to just assume who they get in the draft, and the only team I'm doing that for, that's because they've come out and said it, and they've said they're not trading it. These other teams still might trade their picks, do whatever. I think that the Dallas Mavericks are here. They're very good. They have Cooper Flag. They have Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving when he gets healthy. As much as the Luka trade was whatever, not very great, obviously everyone knows that, but Anthony Davis is still a top 10 player in the league. We cannot underappreciate how good Anthony Davis is at basketball. He's hurt a lot, which stinks, and obviously with injuries they could go worse, but Dallas is a very good team, and I think getting Cooper Flag puts them right back in contention. They have Derek Lively, they have Gafford, they have Anthony Davis. They're a very, very solid team. Kyrie's health is going to be a big factor, as well as Anthony Davis, but I think this team has a lot to build off of and is going to go right back into contention in the West, but Cooper Flag is very much a plug-and-play player, and they're going to be very good next year. Number 15 might shock some people, but I'm going to have the Milwaukee Bucks here. I think the Dame injury is going to be absolutely detrimental to them. Kyle Kuzma opted in. He's going to be not great. He's not a great basketball player. Giannis, the best player in the world. I think they should trade him, in all honesty. He doesn't want to leave now, but I think he should be traded. I think the team should want to trade him because they have nothing going for them. Their fit, even with Dame being healthy, isn't very good. I think this team will always be in the playoffs, always be a solid team in the regular season because Giannis is one of the best players in the world, top 3 every single year. So consistent, first ballot Hall of Famer, but the rest of the team around him is, in all honesty, garbage. I don't think the fit's there. I don't think the talent's there. There's kind of nothing except for Giannis going for this team. I couldn't put him any lower because Giannis is still going to make you a very good team because he is just absolutely insane. But I think this fit's horrible. I think Dame is, obviously, he's not going to play next year. So I think that the Milwaukee Bucks are just going to need a lot, and I think they should probably start selling. At number 14, I have a team that just made a trade, and that's the Memphis Grizzlies, who just traded Desmond Bane for KCP and some picks. I think it's a pretty decent team, but kind of directionless. The Bane trade, I think, was good for them. I think it's good for their future, but it does make them a worse team. KCP and Cole Anthony are very solid pieces. The picks will help them as well. But they're good. They're a good regular season team. I just don't see them going very far in the playoffs. John Morant, injury history as always. It's just, I don't see it for Memphis. I think they're solid. They'll be a probably play-in playoff team, but I just don't think they're that good, and I think their roster construction is a little weird right now, and I think health is a big concern for them and big issue because they really can't keep a consistent roster healthy. So it's going to be hard for Memphis to build up, but I still think they're a solid team with a lot of talent. Next up, we have the other team from that trade, and that's the Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic just traded for Desmond Bane, which I thought was a great move for them. He's a great fit. Obviously, the amount of picks they gave up is kind of crazy, but I think the fit's absolutely perfect. They needed a volume scorer, and I think Desmond Bane can really give that to them. I think their defensive identity is great. I think Franz and Paolo are only going to get better, and I think this team can honestly surprise people next year. They have a very high ceiling in a really pretty weak Eastern Conference with Boston, Milwaukee, and Indiana all kind of succumbing to injuries to some of their best players. So I think Orlando can really jump up next year and make a run. I don't think they're going to be a championship team, but I think they're going to make like a shocking run, maybe make it to a conference finals. I think that's their ceiling this year, which is pretty exciting for Orlando fans, and Paolo and Franz are only going to get better. And I think this team honestly is going to be a very exciting team next year. At number 12, I have another exciting team who's kind of just a lot of unks, but they're all resurging, and that's the LA Clippers. The LA Clippers, new stadium's awesome. I love the redesign. I think they're a very fun team. I love how they do the student-type section deal for them, and I think the team's very good. Harden had a great year last year. So underrated. Kawhi Leonard, always going to be great. They just have a really good team. They have Zubac. I think this team is just very good. Honestly, the Clippers, I think, could be a top seed in the West. And honestly, a team that come playoff time, Harden and Kawhi Leonard, they're going to be who they are. And I think they could really, shock some heads, maybe get a crazy upset. I don't think they're a championship team, but I do think they're a team that could maybe get a crazy upset, maybe make the conference finals next year. Similar ceiling to Orlando, but kind of in a different situation, being a little bit older. But the playoff experience and the players they have, I think they could be a very good team next year. And for our next pick, we're going to have the team in the same city, and that's the Los Angeles Lakers. I think they shoot up. Their ceiling shoots up. They have LeBron and Luka, but they have no center, and that's just not winning basketball, playing without a good center. I think once they get a center, I think that they definitely can shoot up these rankings. I mean, they were the number 3 seed last year, and you have LeBron James and Luka Doncic. Obviously, they're going to get more time together. They're going to be able to play off each other better. And LeBron's not slowing down. Luka's only getting better. I think this team's going to be very good. I think just as of right now, post-NBA Finals, until they get a center, I cannot put them any higher than this because you can't beat any of these good teams without a center, and they know that. They're going to get one. It's a matter of who and how much they spend for them. That's going to be the big question, and also finding pieces to fit around Luka and LeBron. But I think with a good offseason, this team can be a title contender, but it's going to be very dependent on the offseason. Next up, we have a team who's always going to be good, and they have a bunch of playoff risers having a lot of playoff experience between them, and that's Golden State. Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green. Very solid team. I think they're going to be very good. They're very, very high floor team considering health. But Steph Curry, honestly, that's the end of the sentence. Like, he's just always going to make this team good as long as he's a player. He's a player whose game will age great. Obviously, he's the best off-ball player of all time, the best shooter of all time, some of the best handles of all time. He's a player who will age well, keep playing well no matter how old he gets. Until he retires, I think he's never going to be a bad NBA player. Obviously, he's one of the best of all time. Conversations of him being in the top 5, if you agree with that, let me know. If you don't, leave a hate comment, I guess. But no, I think Golden State's a very good team, and I think Steph Curry just makes their floor way too high. Next up at number 9, we have Detroit basketball, the Detroit Pistons, who honestly had a very good year last year. They've really built well. I think Cade Cunningham's amazing. I think they have a good team. They have Thompson. I think they can really, they're a well-built team. They're a good defensive team. I think they needed some playoff experience. They got that in a good series with the Knicks this year, where they put up a very good fight. 6 games against a very good New York team. I think this team's good. I think this team's only going to get better, and I'm not going to put them much higher for now because we have to see, Cade's going to only get better, but we have to actually see it first before we put him higher. But after the NBA Finals, I think Detroit's a top 10 team, which after 2 years ago where they had one of the worst records in NBA history, I think this is great for them, and I think they're really building something special in Detroit. And next up at number 8, we have the team that just lost the NBA Finals in Game 7. Barely happened, but with the injury to Halliburton, I'm going to knock him down a few pegs, and that's going to be the Indiana Pacers, of course. They are a very good team. They're very well constructed. They're a very deep team. They can make teams expand their bench, force them to in the playoffs, and then expose their bench players. I think the deepness of this team is absolutely astonishing, and I think they'll still be very good even without Halliburton. But I think their ceiling does get diminished a bit without Halliburton. I think their point guard play goes down. I think their ball movement goes down, which is a huge part of their identity. Siakam's still going to be amazing, and this team's still going to be very good, but that Achilles injury is just so unfortunate for Halliburton and this team, and I think their ceiling definitely goes down a lot because of that. And this is going to feel like deja vu when I say this, but the next team I have is Boston, and they go down again because of an Achilles injury. Really unfortunate. Jason Tatum went down to an Achilles injury. They just traded Drew Holiday. They're going to probably trade Porzingis as well, possibly Derek White. They're in a bad financial situation, and they're going to need to get under the second apron. They won their championship, though, so they're going to be very happy with it. But I think they're going to do a bit of a retooling next year, and I think they're going to be a lot worse. The Tatum injury obviously really kills them, but I still think they're a very good team. Boston's amazing, obviously, and they could have easily won last year, but New York really went on a great run, had miraculous comebacks to beat them. I think they got their championship, though, and they're very happy with that, but they're going to need to reconstruct if they're going to want to win another one. At number 6, we have the Denver Nuggets, who have the best player in the world, so they will be very good always. I think Jamal Murray's kind of taken steps back. I think they were top 3 in past years, but now I'm going to put them at 6 because I think the rest of the roster took a step back. Russell Westbrook, not currently on the roster as he opted out. I'd love him to stay here. I think he had a great fit here, but as of right now, not on the roster, so I think this team's going to need to, have a good offseason to really compete again. Always going to be a solid team when you have Nikola Jokic, but as of right now, they're going to need more if they want to beat teams like Oklahoma City in the West. Shooting all the way up to the top 5 with the addition of Kevin Durant, that's the Houston Rockets. The 2 seed in the West last year added KD. I think they needed some playoff experience. I think last year's playoffs are just kind of indicative of that, but they learned now. They've been to the playoffs, and they're getting one of the most prolific playoff players of all time, who's Kevin Durant. He's honestly one of the best playoff risers in NBA history. I think people don't appreciate that enough. With Golden State, he was just absolutely insane. He's a winning basketball player. I think Kevin Durant makes his team so much better. I don't care about the age. I think he's a great fit for them, and I think that was a great choice. He's going to be the number 1 on a team, and if he could win with this team, I think his legacy gets looked at much better. I think he goes into top 10 conversations. Talent-wise, I believe he's top 3 of all time, but in terms of just accolades and everything, he can really sneak into top 10 if he could win with this Houston team. At number 4, the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are going to do some reconstructing this offseason, but they have Ant-Man, and he's only going to get better. He's worked on his game so much. He gets better every year. There's things that he kind of was a detriment in like playmaking, and then in the playoffs, he was a much better playmaker. He's only going to get better. He's one of the best young stars in the league, one of the hardest workers in the league, and this team is going to be amazing. Back-to-back Western Conference Finals appearances with honestly pretty different rosters. They traded Karl Anthony Towns for Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo. They might look to sell Dante DiVincenzo, but Randle's going to opt in most likely. They're going to keep him, maybe try to restructure with him if anything, but he's still a very good player, very inconsistent, which is his only detriment. But if he can figure that out, which I think he had his best playoffs ever in Minnesota, so if he can build off that and really do that again this season, I think this team's a very good team and a title contender in the Western Conference. Now, before we get into the top 3, I just wanted to take a second to just ask if you guys could like. It really helps out the channel, really helps boost the video. If you enjoy stuff like this, the videos that do well, we're going to make more similar videos in the future. And comment down below what you want us to make in the future. We'd love to hear your feedback and let us know what we could do better. Thank you very much. So now, for number 3, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are an amazing regular season team. They had an amazing record, but I fear that everybody on this team except for Donovan Mitchell is a playoff dropper. I love this team. I think they're very good, but I think Garland and Mitchell in the backcourt defensively is just not good enough. I think this team's going to need to really look at some things if they're going to want to be anything more than a great regular season team who will make the second round, maybe conference finals every year, but they're not a championship team. It's weird to say that, and I'm putting them at 3, but I think they're just still a very good, well-constructed team, and they could surprise me. I just don't see them being a championship team. They could maybe even make it out of the East now that it's kind of wide open, but they're going to have to get past New York and Detroit, who I think are very well-constructed to beat them. I think the teams that they have to face are just very well-constructed to beat them, and I think that's the biggest detriment, but still a top 3 team in the NBA. And at number 2, I'm going to put the New York Knicks here. A very win-now team. I think their bench was their detriment last year, but I think they're going to be able to redress that in free agency. Plus, they have a bunch of rookies who didn't play last year who are going to now, because it's not Tom Thibodeau anymore, going to get to play. I think Paco Mdadier, Kolek, and Huck Porty can all give them pretty solid minutes, and I think it's really going to help if their starters aren't playing 40 minutes a game because their starting lineup is absolutely amazing. I think they're going to need to make very smart moves with their financial constraints and lack of picks. I think the Knicks are going to obviously have a bit of an issue with making any big splashes, but I think with the team, if they make smart, small moves, they'll be very good. Their head coaching hire is also huge, so there is a bit of what if with this team, but I think the talent's absolutely insane. I think talent-wise, best starting 5 in the NBA. I think if they really align their team well, which is why they're changing their coach, I think they can be absolutely amazing and win a title next year. And at number 1, a team that should be no surprise to anyone, the youngest NBA champions ever, and that's the Oklahoma City Thunder. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, Isaiah Hartenstein, Chet Holmgren, Lou Dort. What more do you want? This team is absolutely amazing, incredibly young, only going to get better, which is absolutely terrifying. And they have 2 first-round picks this year, might I add, and 1,000 picks built up. So either they could use those, get young talent, have them learn, probably get time in the G League most likely, because they're just no fit because this roster is insanely deep. So I think this team is probably, honestly, if I were a betting man, I would say they're going to repeat right now, as of right now. Obviously, there's a lot to happen before the season. Teams could get better, teams could get worse, but this team is just insane. Caruso, they have so many guys, so young, so all their players are only going to get better, which is absolutely terrifying. And I think this team, as of right now, barring any major changes, this team's going to be a dynasty, and I think the clear number 1 team in the NBA. Thank you all for watching. This was the 4th quarter's way too early NBA power rankings right after the NBA Finals. I hope you enjoyed. If you made it to this point in the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure to check out our other stuff, trying to make better content every time. So really appreciate all the views and all the support. Been growing really well recently, so try to keep that rolling and trying to make better and better stuff. So yeah, thank you all for watching. Have a good day.